People are searching for distraction in Dubai. They are scrolling, refreshing, waiting for chaos, and they are finding nothing because there is nothing to find. But that silence, that normalcy is actually the most important story that no one in the mainstream media is willing to tell you right now. And if you have money invested in Dubai, you are thinking about investing here, what I am about to share could be one of the most valuable things you watch this entire year. And I am going to end this video with something that just happened today. Something so significant that it made every single argument about Dubai's safety, stability, and future completely irrelevant to Dubai itself. Stay until the end because the announcement alone is worth your time. My name is Khilesh Joshi. I have been living and working in Dubai for 5 years. I'm a real estate consultant, an analyst, and a lawyer. And today, I'm not going to give you drama. I'm going to give you facts, fundamentals, and a clear picture of exactly what is happening and what it means for your money. This video is not for people looking for war footage or panic headlines. There are plenty of other channels for that. This video is specifically for serious investors, people who have real capital in Dubai real estate, people who are planning to invest here, and people who simply want professional, unfiltered analysis without the noise. I am going to walk you through how safe Dubai actually is with data, not emotions. I am going to explain the Strait of Hormuz situation in plain language and tell you exactly why oil prices are heading far lower than most people expect. I am going to show you the geopolitical forces that will make Dubai stronger coming out of this period, not weaker. And I am going to tell you honestly and directly what you as an investor should be doing right now. And then I am going to share a breaking announcement that should settle this conversation once and for all. Let me start with what I personally see every single day living in the city. Flights are landing on schedule at Dubai International Airport. Restaurants and cafes are full. The malls are packed with people. Construction cranes are still turning across the skyline. The metro is running normally. Business is open. This city has not skipped a single beat. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. Of course, I would say that. I am based here. Fair enough. So, let me give you something more concrete than my personal observation. Ask yourself a simple but powerful question. International media has the resources and the access to send journalists into active conflict zones, into parts of Iran, into restricted areas of Israel, into Bahrain, Qatar, and Lebanon. These are genuinely dangerous places. So, if something terrible was actually happening in Dubai, why has no major network center ground reporter here to show it to you? Why is there no footage chaos on Sheikh Road? Why no scenes of disruption from downtown Dubai or the marina? The answer is straightforward. Calm. Normal life does not sell advertising. A small fire outside a hotel filmed from a dozen different angles gets more prime time coverage than the death of supreme leader or the fall of a country's entire top leadership. When there is no real chaos show, even the smallest spark has to work very hard to become a headline. I am not here to rate journalistic standards, but I am here to show you the difference between narrative and reality. Because for investors, that difference can cost or make millions. Now, here is something that those who choose fact over fear actually saw with their own eyes. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of United Arab Emirates, was seen walking through Dubai Mall, not in a secure location, not behind closed doors. He was sipping coffee, speaking with visitors, and interacting with families and children in the busiest public space in the country. Alongside him was His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Maktoum bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense. And separately, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Prime Minister of UAE and the ruler of Dubai, was seen publicity at Maidan Racecourse. Exactly when the people of the city regularly see him calm and present going about his routine. In geopolitics, you need to understand something important. Public appearances by national leaders during periods of regional tensions are never accidental. They are deliberate, calculated signals. A leadership that genuinely believes its city is unsafe does not walk through the country's most crowded public mall on a Tuesday evening. The walk through Dubai Mall was a statement to the world and to every investor watching, and it was far louder than any headline. Now, let us get to the question that every investor with exposure to this region is asking. What happens if the Strait of Hormuz stays closed? And more importantly, will it stay closed? To answer that properly, let me first explain exactly what this waterway means to the world. Approximately 20 million barrels of oil pass through this single corridor every single day. That represents roughly 20% of the entire world's total oil supply and $90 per barrel. That is 1.8 billion US dollars worth of oil moving through one narrow stretch of water every 24 hours. But oil is only part of a story. A significant portion of the world's liquefied natural gas, particularly exports from Qatar, also flows through the same corridor. This is not just a regional shopping lane, this is a global economic artery. Now, let me show you exactly who gets hurt when the artery is blocked. Because understanding this is the key to understanding why the disruption will be short. Europe has already dramatically reduced its energy dependency on Russia following the war in Ukraine. Today, Europe relies heavily on Gulf oil and LNG coming through this exact route. A prolonged Hormuz disruption means energy prices spike across European economics that are already under significant pressure. The ripple effect across European households and industries would be severe and fast. China is the world's largest oil importer. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates are among its most critical energy suppliers, and much of that supply passes through Hormuz. If you slow China's energy supply, you slow China's manufacturing, and if you slow Chinese manufacturing, you disrupt the global supply chain for electronics, machinery, consumer goods, and industrial components that the entire world depends on. China, the factory of the world, simply cannot function under prolonged energy constraint. India imports more than 80% of its crude oil, with a large portion historically sourced from the Gulf region. For a country with 1.4 billion people, any significant disruption to that energy supply directly affects transportation cost, inflation, and economic stability at a national scale. The human and economic consequences would be enormous and immediate. Then there is United States. The strategic complications for Washington run deep. With Hormuz blocked, Russia continues selling discounted oil to China and India through alternative channels, generating revenue that funds its ongoing war effort, directly undermining the very sanction the United States and its allies have imposed. That weakens American global credibility. And with midterm election approaching, a Trump administration dealing simultaneously with tariff backlash inflation, and a global energy crisis face serious political consequences at home. And the Gulf itself, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the UAE, their own oil cannot reach global market, revenue stops. Government spending comes under pressure. Economic momentum stales. Every single major player in this equation loses. But here is the most important point of all. Iran loses more than anyone when Hormuz is closed. Their only realistic path to economic recovery runs through oil exports. A closed strait is not a weapon for Iran. It is economic self-destruction. When every major power in the world is losing simultaneously and the country that closed the door is losing the most. History tells us one thing consistently. These disruptions are always temporary, always short-lived, because absolutely no one can afford to keep it closed. Now, here is where I want to say something that may genuinely surprise you. I do not just believe oil prices will correct from current levels. I believe they are heading below $50 a barrel. And I want to explain the roadmap clearly. Russian oil has already begun flowing again through alternative routes despite sanctions. Venezuelan oil is re-entering global markets. United States domestic production remains strong and continues growing. Gulf oil will return to supply as the situation stabilizes. And very soon, based on the direction of current negotiations, you are likely to see sanctions on Iran lifted as a part of the post-conflict settlement or war compensation agreement. When Iranian oil re-enters global supply at a scale, the balance tips decisively from tight supply to genuine abundance. The world is moving towards an oil oversupply situation. Not a shortage below $50 a barrel is not a dramatic prediction. It is a logical outcome of the supply dynamics that are already unfolding. And for Dubai, this is actually powerful news. Lower oil prices mean lower inflation. Lower inflation means better purchasing power across the economy. More capital flows into investment markets, including property, and the short-term stress on the Dubai real estate market, which is real. I will not pretend otherwise, has a very clear expiry date. To understand where Dubai goes from here, you need to understand the bigger geopolitical picture that is reshaping this region right now. For years, two forces have been the primary destabilizers of this part of the world. One on the side, the US, using Israel as its primary level of influence in the region. On the other side, Iran racing towards nuclear capability in an attempt to make itself permanently immune to external pressure. When these two ambitions collided, in one of the most strategically important regions on earth, the consequences were severe. We saw a conflict this region had not experienced before. But here is the brutal economics of modern warfare that most people overlook. In a single week of this conflict, the US is estimated to have spent between $13 and $15 billion. Iran loses and Israel loses are beyond easy calculation. War is extraordinarily expensive. It is financially unstable for everyone involved. And that financial reality is what ultimately creates enforced stability, not diplomacy, not goodwill, but simple fact that no one can afford to continue. Now, layer on top of this what is happening inside American domestic politics. The Supreme Court of US has made it clear that the president cannot impose sweeping economic sanctions or major trade restriction without operating within the legal framework established by Congress. 15%, you heard it right, 15% tariffs for a maximum of 90 days, that is the legal ceiling. The tariff war that was supposed to reshape global trade in America's favor instead accelerated the migration of investors and even some of the America's traditional allies away from the US and toward more stable economic environments. And the city tapping the charts for the incoming capital right now is Dubai. Meanwhile, something significant is shifting in Europe. After years of strategic dependency on Washington, European leaders are building genuinely independent foreign policy framework for the first time in decades. That shift is not temporary, it is structural, and it will deepen cooperation between Europe and the Gulf in trade, in energy, in investment. That is a long-term institutional capital flowing in this region. China has also arrived at an important realization. Short-term geopolitical instability may sometimes create tactical opportunities, but prolonged conflict ultimately damages the stable global trading system that China's entire economic model depends on. China needs a stable Gulf. It needs reliable energy. It needs open trade routes. And that means China too has a powerful strategy interest in the region's stability. The world's largest economics, Europe, China, India, and even the US, under the pressure of domestic politics, are all need the same thing right now. Stability, and Dubai sitting at the intersection of East and West with a government that has been building towards this moment for decades is where that stability lives. Let me answer the safety question directly, without reassurance and without politics. When missiles and armed drones were being fired across the region, the UAE intercepted them with Patriot defense system, with Tahad, with a multi-layered air defense architecture that only a small handful of countries on earth operate. The United States, Israel, Japan, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia, the UAE is on that list. The capability did not appear overnight. Billions of dollars were invested deliberately, strategically across many years to make this country genuinely defensible. I want to acknowledge with full respect that two brave UAE armed forces soldiers lost their lives in this service of their nation during this period. That loss deserves recognition. But broader outcome was clear. The system worked. The city remained open. The people remained safe. Business continued without interruption. Dubai was safe before COVID. It proved itself safe during COVID, when the rest of the world locked down, and it has demonstrated its safety again in the period of genuine regional conflict. Security in the UAE is not an all thought added to the end of the planning document. It is the foundation of which everything else, the economy, the real estate market, the investment environment is built. Now, I want to tell you why the next decade belongs to this region and why most people will not see it coming until it has already happened. The conversation about Dubai's future cannot be had without talking about artificial intelligence. Global spending on AI is projected to reach approximately $1.5 trillion in 2025, rising to $2.5 trillion in 2026. The UAE has already committed more than $350 billion into this ecosystem through government initiatives, sovereign wealth investment, and a long-term policy planning. The UAE Artificial Intelligence Strategy 2031 projects that AI alone will contribute approximately $96 billion to the UAE economy by 2030, representing 13 to 14% of the country's GDP. For a nation with a population of roughly 11 million people, that is one of the highest projected AI economics impact ratios anywhere in the world. The UAE is becoming to artificial intelligence, what Switzerland is to private banking and financial service. And then there is the financial firepower that backs all of this. Norway's government pension fund manages approximately $1.7 trillion. China's investment corporation manages roughly $1.3 trillion. The Abu Dhabi Investment Authority alone manages about $1 trillion. But here is why the UAE does something fundamental different from almost every other country in the world. Most nations rely on a single large sovereign wealth fund. The UAE operates five: the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Mubadala Investment Company, ADQ, the Emirates Investment Authority, and the Investment Corporation of Dubai. Together, these five funds manages more than $2 trillion in assets. For a country of 11 million people, that is sovereign wealth capital of approximately $170,000 per citizen. The equivalent figure for the United States is $900 per citizen. The difference between those two numbers is not a gap, it is a cannon. Now, I want to talk about something that happened just today, April 22nd, 2026. I want every investor watching this to understand exactly what it means. While the world was debating whether Dubai is safe, while headlines were focused on regional tension, while people were second guessing their investments, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Prime Minister of UAE and ruler of Dubai, made a landmark announcement that I believe will be remembered as one of the defining moments in this city's infrastructure story. He announced the Dubai Metro Gold Line. Let me give you the exact numbers so this lands properly. The Gold Metro Line will span 42 kilometers. It will run fully underground, reaching depths of up to 40 meters below the city. It will pass through 15 strategic areas across Dubai. It will serve approximately 1.5 million residents. It will strengthen connectivity to 55 major real estate developments that are currently under construction. And the investment 34 billion dirhams, that is approximately 9.3 billion US dollars, committed to single infrastructure project announced today. But here is the part of His Highness statement that every investor need to hear. He said, and I want to be precise about this, our landmark projects to position Dubai as the world's best city to live in are on track. Our future endeavors will not stop, rather they will accelerate. And then he said something even more powerful. Our plan is to build a better future for millions of people. We stand by our words and deliver on them. Think about the timing of this announcement for a moment. The region is going through a period of genuine geopolitical tension. Investors are nervous, headlines are negative, and in that exact environment, the ruler of Dubai announces the largest transportation project in the city's history. A 34 billion dirham line targeted for completion on September 9, 2032. Not a study, not a proposal. An announcement with a budget, a route, a timeline, and a direct statement from the top leadership. This is not the behavior of a government that is uncertain about the future. This is the behavior of a government that sees the future so clearly. It is already building it. Now, let me tell you what this means specifically for real estate, because this is why you are watching this video. The relationship between metro connectivity and property values in Dubai is not theoretical. It is documented history. Every time a new metro station has opened in this city, property values in the surrounding areas have responded. The red line transformed corridors that were considered peripheral. The green line did the same. The blue line, currently under construction and due for completion in 2029, is already showing its effect on the prices in the areas it will serve. The gold line will connect 15 strategic areas including urban zones, growing residential corridors, and major development clusters. It will link 55 real estate projects currently under construction, meaning developers building today already know this line is coming. Smart investors need to understand that the area along the corridor are not priced today for the connectivity they will have in 2032. That gap between today's price and tomorrow's fundamentals where opportunity lives. The gold line will also increase the total length of Dubai Metro's network by 25%. That is a quarter more coverage added to the system that already moves hundreds of thousands of people every single day. When that expansion is complete, Dubai will have one of the most extensive driverless metro networking in the world. And every property with access to it will reflect them in its value. I have been saying throughout this video that Dubai's stress is short term and its momentum is long term. Today's announcement is the proof. When a government commits 34 billion dirhams to infrastructure during a period of regional uncertainty, it is not making a political statement. It is making a financial one. It is saying we have run the numbers. We see where the city is going and we are accelerating, not pausing. I want to be direct with you here because this is the part that actually matters for your wealth. The answer, after everything I have laid out, is to act, but to act intelligently. First and the foremost importantly, do not panic. The investors who panic sold during COVID, during the oil price crashes, during every precious episode of regional tensions in this market, they all had one thing in common. They regretted it. The Dubai real estate market has absorbed every shock thrown at it and come back stronger every and each time. This time will be no different. Second, if you have the liquidity right now, understand that you are holding genuine power. The current period of uncertainty is creating entry point in this market that was simply not available 6 months ago. Smart money does not wait for certainty before acting. It acts when others are hesitating and studies the fundamentals carefully before doing so. Today's gold line announcement should sharpen your thinking about which location to focus on. Third, understand your portfolio properly. Not every asset you hold is supposed to do the same job. Some of your properties are defensive income assets. They generate rental yields and preserve capital. Others are growth assets in supply constrained location that will appreciate significantly over time. Knowing the difference and building your portfolio with intention is what separates serious investors from speculators. Fourth, and I cannot emphasize this enough, after today's announcement, focus on connectivity. Metro access is not a luxury feature in the city. It is a fundamental driver of long-term demand. Areas along the Gold Line corridor that are currently underpriced relative to their future connectivity are the single most interesting category of investment opportunity I see in this market right now. Fifth, filter the noise. Over coming weeks and months, you will receive calls about special deals and last chance opportunities. Some will sound convincing. Most are built for moment, not for long-term portfolio. Stay patient, stay rational. The uncertainty that is driven today's headlines will largely settle within 4 to 6 months. The investors who remain calm, liquid, and disciplined through this period are the ones who will be celebrating when the other side arrives. Speculators and short-term flippers will disappear from this market. They always do when conditions tighten. What remains are quality assets held by serious investors who understood the fundamental from the beginning. Make sure you are in that second group. Dubai has been tested before by the 2008 financial crisis, by oil prices collapse, by a global pandemic that shut down every other major city on earth. Every single time the city adopted, it rebuilt. It came back stronger and more sophisticated than before. And today, while the world was watching headlines about regional conflict, the ruler of Dubai was announcing a 34 billion dirham metro line and telling the world with complete confidence, our plan will not stop, they will accelerate. That is Dubai. That is the government. That is the vision. My name is Khilesh Joshi. I have spent 5 years in the city, on the ground, helping investors to make decisions they are proud of years later. If you want to talk through your specific situation, whether you are already invested, whether you are looking at the gold line corridor, or exploring where to put your capital next, the link to connect with me is in the description below. If this video gave you clarity, give it a like and share it with someone who needs the real story rather than the headlines. Subscribe if you want professional, unbiased analysis every time the world starts panicking about this region, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.